Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's my honour and pleasure to introduce a good friend and an even better percussionist, Pius Cheung. Pius, thank you for joining us tonight to offer your words of advice. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I don't know how I feel about the better percussionist than friend. I thought we were pretty good friends.
Well, yeah, I know, but you can never be better, right? So that's yeah, great. So we've got an action-packed ballad of music tonight for you. So we won't do too much talking. I don't really need to introduce you anyway, obviously. So we're going to bring on Jack first, and I'm sure Jack will tell you a little bit about himself and what he's going to be playing for you.
Sounds great.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Jack.
Hello, I'm Jack. I'm from England, and I'm currently in first year university in Newcastle.
Okay.
So this piece, which I'm going to play, you're going to see the video of, is As the Snow Falls by Robert Otomo, and I've been learning it since September, and I played it in my Envy recital last week. So the video that you're going to see is from a while ago, and I think that I've improved since then. So take it as you will.
Cool. Is there anything you want to tell us about the piece before we play your video, or should we just go with the video?
Well, I got the piece from a friend of mine called Jordan, who won the BBC Young Musician of the Year competition in the UK 2 years ago, and he played this piece in the final when he won it. And when I heard it, I just thought, this is such a beautiful piece. I really want to learn it, and so I got the piece off him, and I've been learning it ever since. So, yeah.
Maybe we start with your video first, then we have more questions.
I'm just looking at the video, Jack. It's about almost 6 minutes. Pius, do you want to hear the whole thing or just a little segment? What do you think?
Maybe I'll give a little wave when I...
Yeah, perfect. Let's do that. All right, then. This is Jack playing some Robert Otomo.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, sounds great. Bravo.
Oh, thank you.
So there are many things we can talk about. Let's start with technique. Do you have any hand pain?
I used to, but not anymore really. I think
Describe it.
well, when I was first starting to play marimba, obviously,
Okay.
get the 4-mallet technique would my hands would cramp up after a while. But
Okay. Is
wait,
that when you're recording this video?
no, not particularly. No.
Okay.
It's I think I've probably built up stamina to it. So if I play for a really long period of time, then my hands will start to cramp up. But
yeah, I'm just mentioning it because well, first as a precursor, I don't use the Mustard Stevens grip. I use cross grip, so my stick's cross. But as I was watching you play it, it seems like for whenever I've seen Mustard Stevens player, the ones that are really comfortable with it seem their malice seems to stick out less. It seems to be less long, less tentacly, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like it seems that their malice seems more connected with their hand. Sorry. Yeah, it seems like our arm should be all the way connected to the tip of our mallet. So this is actually our fingertips, if you're to say. So, and that's what I find was lacking, like technically on your performance, just from looking at it. And that's why I asked if you have any hand playing, because it looks like you're grabbing on pretty tight, and then there are a lot of tension in your shoulders.
Yeah.
But I don't have much specific advice for the grip in particular because I don't use it. In general, I always tell people to just stay as loose as possible for the musically appropriate tones. But I've never understood how you stay as loose as possible with this gizmo.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So that may be something you want to explore a little bit, and of course, along with breathing with your sound, breathing with music, and everything. Which I think you're doing really good of, and I think. I mean, I could tell from your playing you really like this piece.
Yeah.
So let's dig down to how we make sense out of this, or deliver it as a nice little like dessert as it is. As Tim knows, I compare music with food a lot. And this piece might be like let's say nice little truffle. Like this is a dessert piece for me. It's not a main dish piece.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the dolce things in the marking, that seems to make sense. Or how would you describe it if you're relating it to food?
To food, well, you're probably right. I can't see it as a main course, but maybe something like a brownie.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's a very good description. Like I wouldn't say it's like a really complex like dessert with many layers and like gold leaves or something, but a really nice filling brownie that's kind of makes me happy at the moment. So that's good. So now, having said brownie, I probably would keep it simple. I wouldn't add all these like weird stuff like figs or like rosemary. Actually, that might be okay. But so which means interpretationally, very typical brownie music is that's going to stick, by the way, for our entire time session. The brownie music, the beginning of the brownies, I get like you want to like observe it a little bit, maybe take a first bite and then think about it a little bit. But by your second bite, you're just eating. You're not really like examining the layers of the brownie or something, right? So translated to playing for the first 8 bars or so, I get the lento cantabile. You take a little bit more, or whatever it is. But then when you finally get to the main theme, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, my desk is messy, so let's see, David. I'm just making stuff up, but you want to keep it a little bit simpler.
Okay.
Which in this first section is still doable, I think, because kind of. So this is something I like to encourage composers, arrangers, and performers to think about, is how do we balance musical and technical virtuosity? And that, of course, changes depending on the composer and the performer specifically. So what I mean is, when something is supposed to sound musically simple, it should be technically simple.
Yeah.
Now, if you're just a beginner, technically simple is probably way down. But then if you're like Keiko Abe or something, technically simple is like off the charts. So in this case, we're talking about musically very simple things, which in this first section is still okay. There's some moments that I would say it's a little bit tricky to play for the message it's trying to send across. Right around bar 25, where you start to go to octaves.
Yeah.
That's when I feel it's partly the music, partly the writing, and partly like where you are with your technique. It sounded like you were struggling a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably the bit I struggled with most in this piece, definitely.
Now, I should have paid more attention. How were you sticking this part?
The
left-hand part.
I was kind of going. So if you're going 1, 2, 3, 4 mallets, I was going like 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so that's it. You are using your right hand to help out with the left hand.
Yeah. Although there is one bit where I did it all with left hand, which is bar 30, where the right hand goes bling.
Okay, yeah, because you have to,
left hand.
Yeah, so maybe just think swirlier in those passages.
Well, I did this recording like 2 or 3 months ago, and since then I've kind of picked up that I tended to put too much emphasis on the right hand in that flowing bit underneath. So it, like the higher note in the sway would be a bit accented, which it shouldn't be. So I think since then I'd kind of consciously tried to make it sound like a 6 rather than 2 3s, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yes. Okay, I know what you mean. Yeah. So there's you brought up another good point of is how do we create a line of phrase or the illusion of legato on percussion?
Yeah.
And that's another thing I talk about quite often. Is like on percussion instruments, unlike voice or clarinet, we're actually not able to sustain through a note, right? So a lot of times, for instance, if we want to draw this shape, a singer or a clarinet would just sing with do 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 do. On percussion, we have to put dots specifically on places of that line to give people the illusion of that shape.
Yeah.
And that's something you can think a little bit deeper about. And again, as your technique gets better, your facilities get more comfortable, this is going to become easier, leaving you more mental and physical capacity to process that as you kind of like find the notes. Yeah. Do you write music?
A little bit. I haven't written any marimba solos. I've tried starting writing an arrangement of Moon River for vibraphone. But I haven't got very far with that.
All right, so I can from your choice of this and your choice of Moon River, I can kind of tell what your musical preference is. So maybe write something like it or improvise something with it. Because another
Yeah.
thing was, as I was hearing you play, or maybe stick with this, but I don't want to hear you playing like you're reading music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be a nice tune. It should be something you create. It feels like you created, although I mean, in this case, you didn't. But quite often it's you just improvise in that style a little bit, at least to get comfortable with the idiom and how your hands just gonna naturally go.
Yeah.
And let's see. Oh, it's so hard. There are parts I want to try with you, but you don't have an instrument. Another thing is, another helpful tip could be, keep your mallets low.
Yeah.
So you focus on the horizontal. Then you get more of that sound out. And there's also something to be said once your facilities are more comfortable about, yes, it's a brownie. Is there any way you can make the brownie have deeper meaning? Sometimes that has happened.
The brownie's been made by your mother.
Sure. So, excuse me, I'm running low on battery. I'm just going to disappear for a second to recharge. Sure. Having that backstory. Oh, my lighting changed. Having that backstory would give the music a little bit more meaning, right? So, as you're playing, is there a way you could reflect that with your sound? Now we're getting to the really abstract.
This is really.
I'm posing this as a question for you to ponder on later.
Yeah.
This kind of question most likely wouldn't have an answer, especially in words.
Yeah.
But as you, again, reaching to next stages of getting comfortable with the notes and playing, think about how you make simple language deeply meaningful.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily with this piece, but maybe with your compositions and arrangements in the future. And there are ways to do that with playing or voicing. Very importantly, voicing is very important to help. Yep. And a composer, a lot of times I like to encourage people to look at in terms of how to make simple music deeply meaningful is Ryuichi Sakamoto.
Oh yeah.
So that composer, he do you know this composer?
Yeah.
So notice his language is simple and complex at the same time, catchy and sometimes it's just like, how is that catchy? In like a Leonard Bernstein West Side Story kind of way too.
Yeah.
At least for me. Morricone is of course good. I'm naming film composers now. So that's again something to dig deep on as your future projects.
Yeah.
Now sidetracking a little bit, what else have you played since you're in your city?
Well, I'm doing a percussion competition in a few weeks in the UK, which is kind of run by the Percussive Arts Society, and I'm playing this piece. I'm playing Frogs by Kiko Abe, and I'm playing Etude in C major by Musa.
Okay. How have you played much Bach?
A little bit. I did the arrangement of the cello concerto a while back.
There's a cello concerto?
The cello piece. I can't remember what it's called.
The cello suite, probably.
Cello suite, that's the one.
Yes. I was like, there's a cello concerto? I gotta check that out. And how... So I'm thinking in terms of a general long-term educational goal is, again, relating back to food. You have your brownies. You got some frogs, which are good appetizers. But at some point, to balance your diet, there needs to be more vegetables, more vitamins, and some challenging foods, like things that.
Well, another piece that I want to do in the long run is Polaris by Mark Ford.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
so by challenging music, I mean like things that test the limits of your palate. What did I just put in my mouth? And I'm not sure if I like it, but I'm gonna take a few more bites to see. So I'm speaking now, let's specifically of tonality. Like those are all very mild tonality music. Maybe try something a little like weirder.
Yeah.
And then you might learn something, even if like after 4 years or something, you might not like it, but you have gone through the process and learned something about it.
Yeah.
So and just that's something I think as an educator, I focus quite a bit of my planning with my students is make sure they're all eating the right, eating nutritious foods. At the same time, it's not all kale, so it's not like, oh, I don't want to eat anymore. So it's a balance of desserts, sweet things, fast food, things that are bad for you, and really healthy vegetables and good proteins or something.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good way of putting it. Quite like that.
And Tim's face up here.
All right. Yeah, nice. So you got like, a minute, just so you know. I didn't know if you saw the 5 minutes left, so I'm just.
Yes, I did.
Okay, I'm off.
Well, I mean, that was a good time. That was just, I was going to end on
a good time.
Well, Jack, did you have any questions or thoughts?
No, I think you've pretty much answered all of them. Yeah, thank you very much. That's very.
All right, cool. Well, Pius will be here for the next couple of hours, so if you have anything you think about, just write them down, and then we'll do a quick quick Q&A at the end. All right, nice one, Jack. Thank you.
Cool. Cheers.
Bravo.
Cheers, Pius.
All right, let's go to Dane and see if he's fixed the audio. Hey.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah,
okay,
nice.
Finally, great.
Great. So whilst I queue up your video, do you just want to tell Pius a little bit about yourself?
Yes.
Dane's
so
one of
hello.
Ivana's students, by the way, Pius. So
say what?
Dane is one of Ivana's students, I believe.
Oh, cool.
Actually, hello. My name is Dane. I'm from Croatia, Zagreb, and my main teacher is Igor Lešnik. If maybe you know. Yeah. So he's my main teacher, and sometimes I get also to work with Ivana, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm a second-year student at the Zagreb Academy of Music, where I enrolled a year earlier. And today we'll watch my video of your etude in E minor, so I don't think I need to tell you too much. I think you know more than me, so I think we can just watch it if that's okay.
Yes, sounds good.
All right, so let's roll it, and then if you want to give me a wave when you're done, and then I'll duly stop it.
Well, the piece is short, and it's mine, so we'll probably hear the whole thing.
Cool. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you for playing this. How long have you been working on it?
So this was it's a tradition in our academy that we only have to play each year one cello suite. So last year when I enrolled, that wasn't enough for me. So I was like, I need one serious piece for marimba, and I naively chose this piece because like it's short, it's like no problem, And then I started playing it, and now it's been, I think, so it's like more than a year.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, it really, I really am grateful that I chose this piece because it took me on such a wild ride and learned me so much because I was thinking, oh, it's a simple few minutes piece. I learn it 3 months tops. It's great. And then it was like the exact opposite, but that's exactly why I'm grateful for it.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, you're doing a really good job. I like all your phrasing, all your beautiful touch, and all you care for every single note. So it's really coming through, and I'm very happy to hear your interpretation of this piece. So my job is to give you some comments. So let me think of something.
Okay, thank you.
Now, well, let's start with, I think there are a couple notes that you might have mislearned.
Okay.
I didn't write down which ones, but specifically one that happened twice was the top note is D. I think you have been playing B natural.
Just a second. Let me find it.
Yeah.
Just let me. Okay. I think I found it. You said it's D.
D, yes.
Yes, it is. I might have played B, right?
Yes. Just make sure you match that. There was one more. Hold on. I don't remember it. But just check the accidentals. There may be one or two accidentals that you may have missed, which are minor details. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe I can. And as far as production wise of the video, I like your camera angles. I like the settings a little bit. I might just recommend a little bit less reverb on the sound, so it sounds a little bit more natural. Or is that natural reverb?
No, it's not natural, because this was the first video that I wanted to do a little more seriously.
Yeah.
Because I just got a new marimba like a month ago. So I was very excited, and as you can see around me, this is my room. It's very like studio like.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try for the first time recording audio and then recording video on the audio, which was
Yep.
a very fun experience, to say the least. But yeah, so this room is very very studio like. So yeah,
Okay.
that's not natural reverb.
Yeah.
Reverb.
Which is fine, but I recommend just a little bit less.
Okay.
Or well, specifically something that adapts what the room looks like a little bit more.
Okay.
If you're filming in a giant church with a high dome ceiling, then yeah, I wouldn't be thrown off by that. But
Yeah. Okay.
that's something that may be a pet peeve of mine when I see like the sound really doesn't match the setting I'm going.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Again, minor point. And then another thing, production wise, are that your sticks sound really ticky to me. Like there's a lot of contact sound.
Okay, I think that may be to the, I don't know on what exactly are you listening to this, but
I am on a computer speaker, so that's always different.
yeah, me too. So I can say, but I tried when I was finishing, when we were finishing the sound master, let's say, I listened to it on everything that made sense. I didn't really listen to it on a laptop or on a computer, and yes, I agree, on my laptop it also does sound too ticky.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately that's a bit yeah.
I mean that's also something that unfortunately in the 21st century we have to keep account on, is when we put out videos, most people are listening on the computer or this.
Yeah.
Once in a while you get some headphones in, but that's sometimes when I put my own videos out, sometimes I'm like listening on my computer. All right, does it sound okay on computer? And try to find middle ground.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
And when it's a video like that goes on YouTube, I probably wouldn't bother even with the fancy speakers, because no one's gonna listen to it. Now, if I was putting in a CD album, that's a different story. I might mix it differently. Do you know the good old Motown story? Do you know Motown?
No, sorry.
Motown, it was an era in like American pop music and rock and roll music that the board of producers, they famously had like one really bad radio or like or speaker that they would test all recordings on, because that's people were listening in cars. So they wanted to make sure it sound good in cars.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
understand.
in the 21st century, I think we need to make sure it sounds good on our devices. That's all. Now that's a small production thing.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind for the next time.
And of course, if you're playing Pius Cheung music, you should use
Yeah, I know.
It's a side bit, but so maybe I could tell you a little bit about the piece and how it came about and what I'm doing now, just to give you some perspective, and then we'll dig in deeper of how to simplify perhaps simplify in the future your interpretation. It's always tricky for me to talk about when other people playing my music, because I don't want to be like controlling, because after I finish writing, it's done. It's the performance to come up with your own interpretation. So I want to stay out of the way, but at the same time, if I have to comment, naturally some of my preferences come through, which is not necessarily the correct one. So I'd rather hear different interpretations of the notes. But let me give you a little background first. I think I wrote this when I was like 20 or maybe a little bit later. And that was still in my kind of like student stages of when I was doing a lot of arrangements, and I still haven't 100% let go of my dream to become a pianist. And I wanted to satisfy my thirst and my natural upbringing of playing all those Rachmaninoff, Brahms kind of music on what instrument I ended up with, which is percussion. So I ended up like doing a lot of these semi-composition, semi-arrangement things, which sidetracking for me, arrangement and composition is not two separate things. It's one line that kind of transitions from like
Okay.
adapting something, and then you start transcribing or transcribing some things, and then eventually you become arranging because you're messing with it more and more and changing it into something else, and then eventually it becomes original music. Maybe eventually we all learn from somewhere. We all our composition all come from something. For instance, if I just took the Mozart C major sonata, I twisted so much that I ended up only copying the structure of it, and not even like I copied like half the structure, and over the time it morphed into something else. So is that still composition or arrangement? That I have a whole spiel on that, which I won't waste time with here. That was a sidetrack moment. So when I was writing this etude in E minor, I was still somewhere in the phase of just wanting to play something in the language. So I just started writing something in that language. But in this piece in particular, it's definitely inspired by two different pieces two of my favorite pieces. One is the Scriabin etude in D sharp minor. Do you know this one?
No, let me actually write that down. So you said the Scriabin
etude in D sharp minor that something like that. There's a famous Horowitz recording on it that I grew up listening to.
Okay.
And then, but that one is more in the structure and the kind of the feel of like oozing, like and it just kind of. Another, I think I just took a lot of the progressions out of the main theme of the Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto Number 1. It goes like it's been a while, but something like that.
But so I can definitely hear the connection.
Yeah. And then I started like fussing around it on marimba, and of course, F sharp minor is terrible for marimba, so E minor seems good. And then there's some chord things, and then it's twisting things, and then it eventually became this etude in E minor. And also, I remember this was one of those pieces I wrote in one night. But then in the original version, the first two bars weren't there. That's why my good friend / arch nemesis Casey Cangelosi, when he recorded this piece, the first two bars weren't there because I didn't write it yet. And then afterwards, once I started playing myself, I thought like instead of like starting right on, I wanted something. Now we start.
Sorry, I'm stopping you, but honestly, I'm trying to write myself, and my friend, one of my friends, makes fun of me that I write like Keiko Abe. I record, and then what I like, I write, and when I just first write the parts I like, and then try to kind of stack them together. And for me, it's always the beginning is always the most difficult part, because it's like how do you at the beginning present what it's going to be, but not give out too much, or not even too much, but too much in every way.
I mean, by you asking that question or posing that issue to yourself, I think you're on the
Well,
right
there
track.
is, there isn't necessarily a question there, but I just relate to the beginning problem. Yeah, it's
Yeah, of course. And I mean, for me, it's always a balance between writing at the instrument slash improvising and away from the instrument and just by ear.
Mhm.
It's always a balance. It's rarely, for me, it's rarely one or the other.
yeah,
One or the other just doesn't work for me in the end. Usually I have to like come up with the sound and then try it. Maybe does it work? Does it not work? If it's on
yeah.
total instrument, I'll stick with my habits, but it's totally off the instruments. Some things wouldn't work. So it's a combination. And
Yeah, I agree. For me, the most I really want to write this. I have an idea for a piece for a marimba, solo piece, but
Mhm.
the most difficult part is writing it down because I also improvise and then come to all of these ideas which can be something, but it's hard to write them down and then turn them into something without too many different motifs, let's say.
yeah, I hear you on that. So something I have done that you could try is quite often I would write down my ideas first
Okay.
without any, maybe on even separate pieces of paper or
Mhm.
maybe just one piece, without any regard of where it goes in a piece of music. I just think, oh, this might sound good. Oh, that might sound good. That might sound good. And then you might end up with like 20 different ideas. And those may end up being 20 different pieces or 5 different
Yeah,
pieces, or
that's true.
maybe
Yeah.
they're all together. But then I'll do the puzzling part, like piecing it together part another time.
Yeah, yeah.
Except, uh, and I think very importantly, how much have you written?
I like, how do you mean by how much?
Like how much experience of writing do you have?
Well, not too much. Like I've started this year,
Yeah,
and I don't know, so maybe 4 pages.
sure. So that would this is a good time. I think I'm gonna recommend one of the first things you think of is actually a few tips is one. Now we're tracking to writing. We'll get back to the A and E minor in a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing is focus on development instead of putting ideas. Like how much you can do with one small idea.
Mhm.
Uh, Doing as much as you can with one small idea would be the preferable way to go. I think for the ultimate practice and ultimate result. Number two is don't try to write your best magnus opus, whatever, like your biggest, your masterpiece at the first go. Write smaller pieces first, and then eventually you come up with something that you feel comfortable with. Number three is practice writing. Just write it down first, and then you can think later whether it works or not. And maybe there are writing exercise you can do. Maybe like write 20 bars of just chords, and then figure out the tonality there,
Mhm.
going from the most tension to the least tension to the most tension, just as an exercise. That's kind of like
Yeah.
practicing our rudiments or something. And then so there's a lot of that. So very little of that actually comes from like, oh my God, like this divine being spoke to me and out came this piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very little about that because everyone has good ideas. Uh, the tricky thing is learn what to do with it. You know, but
I
that's aside.
understand.
I saw the 5 minute mark came up, so let's get back to the etude in E minor for a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So in terms of performance, I'm going to recommend making it a lot simpler. Uh, Again, this is relating back to the first piece. It's a simple piece. Don't do too much with it. And very typical in a lot of music, there are three layers. There's the melody, there's the bass, and there's the accompaniment. And quite often, the most notey, the layer that has the most notes is the accompaniment. And quite often, that's a layer we don't need to hear the most.
Okay.
So I recommend focusing on just the melody and bass first, and then let this fill this out.
Okay.
Which a lot in this case it means a lot of little stuff, just kind of play it lighter. Maybe I should better demonstrate on a proper instrument. Let's see. Sorry, the sound was probably terrible, but did you get a sense of the balance?
Yeah, I got the idea. Yeah.
I didn't play the first 2 bars, did I?
No.
It should just keep it simple. Now the music starts. So don't make too big of a deal out of the first 2 bars. It's just an invitation to come in. It's not like a declaration of this pieces.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So maybe, do you have any questions for me? Emma, sorry, my daughter just walked in. Hi, Emma.
Well,
Me too.
Like, hi, Emma. Hi, Emma.
hi. So I wanted to ask you a kind of maybe a simple but difficult question.
Yeah.
What kind of way of practicing, in general, would you recommend? I know it's for every phase as a musician, it's different, but maybe you have some what's the word? Some advice. Yeah.
Advice of practicing?
Yeah.
I mean, so I have my usual advice of I study a lot. So a lot of my practice is actually not on the instrument. So I'm just staring at the music quite often and just kind of visualizing and hearing the sound. And depends on what I'm playing. Sometimes I may need a keyboard help to find some pitches if I was playing like some boulez or something. My ears are not good enough to tell exactly what boulez sounds like just from staring at it. But if it was Bach or something, yeah, I know what it sounds like if I just stare at it. So a lot of my practice comes from that. And when I actually go onto the instruments, I pretty much know what it's going to sound like, what it's going to feel like most of the time. Unless it's like multiple percussion, which is kind of like tricky because the setup is always different. Then I need to like build the setup and get comfortable with it. When it comes to multi-setup, I just build the setup first, and then I'll start improvising to get comfortable with that new instrument. And then, yeah, a lot of like studying, and then going to the instrument. A lot of times it's just slow practice. And then depends on where you are. Maybe don't forget your fundamentals, but from what I've seen, your fundamentals are comfortable. So, like don't give them up yet, but maybe don't need to spend 3 hours a day on it anymore.
Okay.
I mean, don't, unless Igor or Ivana says the opposite, just do what they say.
Okay.
All right, Tim's. Oh,
Yeah, great. Nice one. I just wanted to say, like, because obviously I'm hearing these for the first time pretty much because I've not been here. But Dane, I felt that was quite a mature performance in terms of like the tempos that you set, because I know Pius will vouch for this, but like it's so easy to listen to your original recordings, Pius, and like go like about out of hell. And and it's a very, very challenging piece. And I felt actually you controlled like the maturity in your performance and the tempos, but also it made musical sense for you as well. So for me, I thought it was a really strong performance. So yeah, well done. I really enjoyed that.
Well, thank you very much. As I said, it's a piece I've been doing for a long time, and from when I began to do it more seriously, I understood that it's a piece that's very difficult and it has many how do you say, not requirements, but it needs a lot of attention, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also sorry. I was also sure that it was a piece that needs to seem to the general public like it's super simple, like it's so easy that you're here playing something and it just sounds nice and it's no big deal. It shouldn't look like you're killing yourself, which maybe you are, but
Yeah,
nobody needs to know that. And I think that's one of the bigger points I took from it, maybe even.
yeah. No, it was a really bold performance and translated really well for me. Like, well done, great job.
Well, thank you very much. Thank
All
you.
right,
Great
nice
job.
one. All
Thank
right,
you for
let's. I don't know.
singing.
I don't know if Layla's here or not. Layla, are you around? She says she's got weak signal, so we might have to go to someone else. If not, we might go to Jake. Okay, Jake, are you around? Jake's around. Hey,
Hello.
Jake.
Hi.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? You all right?
Huh?
All right, I'll
Sorry,
just
what?
queue up your video. So if you want to
Oh,
just
okay.
introduce yourself and what you're going to play, that'd be great.
Yeah, so my name is Jake Kundu. I am this fall going to be going to the Eastman School for my master's, and I'm going to be playing Burrit variations. Oh, and Tim, if you're able to skip the first 20 seconds or something. Oh, you want to request access for that?
Yes, thank you. I just requested it.
I'll do my best. Just give me a minute.
And sorry, there's a lot of markings on the page, but yeah.
I like
think I've
that.
got the beginning. So, Pius, you want to give me a wave on this one?
I'm good.
All right, nice one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I totally forgot we had a time limit. I was just so captivated by your playing. Like,
Oh, thank you. That's very nice. Thank you.
Well, actually, we're almost there. Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Really beautifully done. It's not an easy piece, and you're doing.
Yeah. No, it was not.
Are you going to Eastman as master's or doctorate?
Masters.
Oh, cool. Where'd you do undergrad?
Capital University. It's in.
Oh,
You know of it?
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if you. Oh, really? You do?
I've heard of
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Just because of the name. I don't know much. Who was your teacher, may I ask?
Yeah. For the first 2 years here, because we've had a lot of staffing changes recently. For the first 2 years, Bob Breithaupt was still here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and you know Ryan Kilgore.
I don't know this name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they were both here. And now the person who's teaching here is named Julie Licata. So that's who we have now. Mm-hmm.
Wow, great. I mean, great job. And then, where are you from originally?
I'm from around the area here. So
Yeah.
I grew up in Worthington, Ohio, which is like 20 minutes from Capital. So.
Oh, I mean, really great job. Let's see. Maybe first thing I have to do, since I mean, it's. What's your stance like at the instrument?
My stance?
Yeah.
Well, actually, here I'm actually in front of a marimba, so I can like.
Oh,
kinda show you.
fabulous! Yes.
Yeah. Here, let's see if I can do this. I don't know how well it's gonna work.
If you're playing any other piece than this piece.
Wait, any other piece? You said?
My question is actually, I was leading you because I saw you only standing like kind of like half squat type.
Yeah. No, yeah. I like do like I like squat a lot. Like I like do like the Burrett stance where he like does kind of like a it's kind of hard to see.
Is there a Burrett stance?
That's what I've been told. Yes.
Okay, now that as soon as you say it, I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I'm just wondering because I don't think he squats that deep most of the time. Like, because I only noticed because you were really like semi-squatting the entire time, and I was wondering, one, if you were comfortable, if your legs were tired, and number two, why don't you just raise the marimba a little bit?
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I think for like the squatting, I didn't super get tired. It didn't feel super bad to me. I mean, I was tired after the piece, but not from my legs, just from playing the piece. But I think why it was a little low is because I've been experimenting with different heights, and for a couple years it was too high. So then I think I went too low, and now in more recent times I've kind of found a little bit of a middle ground with that, I think. Right. So I think I was just kind of shopping around, I think, to see what worked best for me.
What cost do you think it was too low or too high?
Wait, sorry, what?
What told you that, what gave yourself the hint that you were playing too low or too high?
The hint that it was too high was I felt like I couldn't relax my shoulders without my mallets hitting the edges of the notes.
Right.
And it being too low, I felt like I was having to flex my wrist too much in order to have be level with the board.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, you're gonna get this when you study with MJB, but I have a very similar thing I learned from my teacher too. I think there's one very simple way to figure out your correct height is to, if you stand up, you're at a marimba. Why don't you try this? You can point. Yeah. Just stand up.
All right.
In front of the marimba. Now turn around without looking at the instrument at all. Like turn around, close your eyes. Oh, hello. Is that bird variation?
No, it's not. It's some other piece. Okay. Turn around.
Turn around, close your eyes. Now there are two ways to go about it. Mike would say, bring your arm up to like where you hold a drink at the party. But for someone like me, that doesn't make any sense because I don't go to parties and hold a drink. So the Michael Yudao version is just raise your arm to wherever you feel the most comfortable and relaxed.
Okay.
Okay.
Like here, I guess.
But without opening your eyes, turn around again. Because as soon as you look at the instruments, you have preconceived like conceptions of where the instrument should be. Like turn around. Yeah. If I was there, I would even take the mounts out of your hand, just hands.
Oh. Okay. So okay, raise and I turn.
Just raise whatever you're comfortable with, without opening your eyes, and that's exactly where your contact angle should be for marimba.
Oh, okay.
If it was snare drum, it should be half an inch or a little bit lower because accounting for the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with mallet in hand, like that angle should be where your mallet should be contacting, like touching the instrument, like or maybe a little bit lower, so there's a little bit more give.
Okay.
So you naturally lowered your hand quite a bit just now already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I guess the board. Yeah. So I guess the board's
within that, there's a range that you should be able to maneuver up and down a little bit. Depends on what you're playing. If I was playing solo, my instrument is a little bit higher compared to if I was playing in a concerto, which would be a little bit lower. Because in general, when I'm solo, I'm using mostly this kind of sound. When I'm in a concerto, I'm using mostly this kind of sound, which the penultimate, where the sound hits is a little bit lower. And I might need to stand up a little bit to give it body weight too. So there's a little bit of range of exactly where it should be too. But I think the good old close your eyes, raise your hands. If you're comfortable resting here, shoulders relaxed, and then turn around to the instrument. Then you open your eyes. Oh, is it correct?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and for me that has changed over the years too. Like as I get older, that might have changed a little bit and adjusted. So sometimes I have to like retest. And I play sitting down, so I'm like quite often adjusting the height of my chair too. Not so much. The arm is easy to adjust, but so that's
okay. Kind of an unrelated thing. I've always been I've seen you do that. Why exactly did you want to sit down while you were playing?
So to clarify any rumors, my legs work pretty well. I'm a runner. So I'm not like 7 feet tall. I'm like 5'10", so I'm normal, like average height. It started when I was learning the Goldberg variations by Bach. It's like in tempo. That piece is like an hour long, so I'd like to practice like half tempo a lot. So my legs just got tired. And I saw an organ bench next to the marimba practice room. I took the bench and I sat down. I'm like, this feels comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah. And then years later, I realized I was comfortable because my weight was evenly distributed and I felt grounded. Not too unlike of how you have the bird stance, because you're grounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when your legs are grounded, you feel comfortable, like moving all your other facilities and relaxing. Everything should be connected like springs. And that was when years later, other people had pointed out to me, you look really relaxed. I'm like, oh, I guess because I never really learned the how to stand properly, or I don't have a good bird stance. Oh, this is going to stay for a while. No, but then my chair is my crutch to have a very comfortable rooted. And that also was why I brought up your stance, because it looked like almost you were sitting. Like I thought, I started like staring at it, but experiment with it. Everyone works differently. Everyone has different preferences, so experiment with it. I do think it's really good that your knees are not locked, so you do have like comfortable range getting up and down. But maybe if you're standing a little bit less, and you have a little bit more sideway room, depends on what you're playing though. Mm-hmm. For this piece, it works because you tend to stay very far, like all over the place. So you tend to want the keyboard closer to you. But anyway, that's a sidetrack thing. Okay. A small thing. But playing wise is really good. I might just recommend if there's a way you can explore more tone colors, because right now it's all kind of like the same neutral, like strong tone color. Even when it's weak, it's still kind of strong. So I have a usual spiel that I'll just give a very short version of for me, the most important thing about technique is how to get musically appropriate tones. Starting with breathing with our instrument, breathing with our movement, sorry. So there, I have two exercises. One is, vertical exercise where I kind of like ask people to stand up, and I would stand up if my camera was positioned correctly. Please feel free to stand up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Stand up, have your feet be about shoulders width, or if you're more comfortable with the bird stance, do that.
Okay.
That's gonna stick. Now open up your shoulder. And imagine if your spine is connected by a cord, like you're a puppet, and someone is pulling on that cord, so your spine is straight now. Now, kind of turn your hands out like that. Turn your hands out like that. Do you feel your chest kind of like stretch open a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're breathing out the air. Now, turn your hand back to normal position while keeping that same posture. Now breathe in through your nose slowly and imagine as gathering energy around you, and then using that energy, your arms go up. And then when you feel, maybe relax your shoulders and your triceps a little bit, because you're kind of doing this. Like bring it all the way up. Everything is connected. And then breathe out quick and maybe vocalize just, and then just drop to your side.
Okay. Yeah, that like definitely felt like relaxed and like
Yeah.
it was like yeah.
Yeah, and important evidence of I see if you're relaxed is whether after you drop, whether your hands are like swinging back and forth or not, or just kind of like that stiff.
Mm-hmm.
So you did well.
Okay.
So that's
awesome.
exercise number one. Yeah. The marimba version, you can easily just take some mallets, do the same thing, and just drop any note, and just drop it on the marimba. Boom. And a slightly more advanced, or usually I start with that actually in my fundamentals, is a version of that is on timpani, because there's rebound and you get a full resonant sound. Is you learn to do that at the same time, you don't get in the way of your rebound and bring your hand back up. Yeah. This I know Barrett talks about a lot, like don't get in the way of the sound of the drum. Just gonna do that and boom, boom. That's fundamental. But very importantly is to remember to breathe with your movement. I think from what I've seen in a video, you're doing that already, but maybe you can do that a little bit more consciously at all times. Yeah.
No, I don't think I tend to think about it too much.
Yeah. So. I mean, and you shouldn't need to think about it. It's just like, for me, it's kind of like when an athlete moves, if they make a big movement, they breathe with it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like just connecting our musical self with our physical self.
Okay.
That's a really fancy way of putting breathing. Exercise number 2 is just horizontal glisses up and down. Breathe in one direction, breathe out in the other. Yeah. You can take some mallets and do some glissandos, maybe later when you're in. Yeah. So you're staying camera. This is kind of semi-Tai Chi. You can draw circles or something. But again, very importantly, you need to be, if you weren't talking and explaining, breathe with your movement. Now, if you're doing glissandos, maybe lead with your elbows. Like imagine someone pulling you. And then your entire body goes with it. Breathe in, breathe out. You don't seem comfortable with this one.
No.
So work on this one. It should be like you're kind of like waving. Your arms are all connected. I imagine a silk scarf floating in the air too. Or if you're moving underwater. For me, this is the key to legato too. So quite often I ask students to do like glissando up and down. And then without stopping at all, maybe just ignore the wrong note. And then, or like. Does it make sense?
No, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just to get more of the delicate legato feel in your hands. Now, I don't see too many moments for that in this piece. There are subtle moments, but they're not that legato flowy-ish. It seems to be more quantilistic, more contrapunto. The cool thing about Vignale's music, of course. Now, after having controlled the breathing, I have 3 ways to control tone colors on percussion instruments. One is what is it? Stroke shade is the depth of the sound, which kind of relates to stroke type, your up, down, full tap. But in this case, we're focusing on the tone color. Is if you're going into the instrument, you get a darker sound, right? Which is kind of the natural state of tone for marimba because there's almost no rebound, right? Our palate wants to kind of stay down, so we kind of want to go in. And this is most of the sounds I heard you produce. But at the same time, you can just kind of think of it as drawing the sound up. You're only using the surface, and then you get a brighter sound. I call this the bright stroke shade. Think more like a triangle glockenspiel, something that has maximum rebound. Like a very tight piccolo drum too. You can snare drum too. Or there's the blended stroke, which is somewhere in between. This is my timpani natural state of sound, which you're feeding energy, and then there's the rebound. You don't get in this way. And of course, there's numerous in betweens. There's just like the 3 basic ones to go with: the bright, the blended, the dark stroke tone color. And then there's stroke weight, which designate how heavy a sound is, not how loud, but how heavy. Starting with kind of where did I stick the finger stroke, which is the lightest sound, the wrist stroke, which gets a little bit heavier, and then the forearm, which is quite a bit heavier, and then the full arm, and then sometimes you throw your entire body at it. Although all of this weight and sound should originate from the center of your being. I think that your core, everything is connected. So when I say finger stroke, of course I'm not like, don't move your wrist at all. It's all kind of like part of it. It's just finger control, actually. That should be it.
Okay.
And then number 3 is the stroke speed, which designates the point of impact, or the shape of the point of impact. Because on percussion, we can't really control the ending. We can control the duration a little bit. Oh, sorry. We can control the ending. We can't control the duration. So our energy focuses on the beginning of the sound. So the faster we strike something, the more pointed the sound will be. The slower we strike something, the more round the sound will be.
I see.
Yeah. So in this beginning method, I use the natural stroke speed, which is just gravity. Whatever this does, don't get in the way. And then the fast stroke speed, which I add a little initiation to make the sound sharper. And then the slow one, which I think you could use a little bit more of, which I'm intentionally slowing down the stroke to make a rounder sound. So there are some moments with single notes I see in this piece that maybe you can just maybe. I think the intention is still a pretty pointillistic sound, but so all these 3 things can be combined with a lot of different subtleties in the tone, which would be helpful in getting this complex counterpoint across and bring out the different characters of each variation. Maybe when it's more intense, you can tighten your grip a little bit, just use a little bit bitier tone, a little bit heavier sound. When it's like lift the sound a little bit, maybe slow stroke speeds, wrist strokes, finger strokes, and then bright stroke shades. Then the sound would elevate a little more. That would give a little bit more complex flavor.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, speeding spot is a big part of tone colors too. Don't ignore that. I couldn't really tell how much you were exploring that.
I mean, well, a lot of this process was me trying to hit the notes because the notes are really hard to hit. I think because I'm sure I'm going to play this piece again one day. I think that definitely is something I'm going to explore more in. And I think most importantly, fitting that within the theme and like where the theme is able to come in and make the colors obvious. So like the theme where it is pretty obvious, because I feel like a lot of times when I do it, it sounds correct, but it always sounded a little bit like off and weird to me in my ear, because I think the colors weren't consistent. So I think that's definitely something I'll explore more. And
Yeah, that could be something possibly you could explore. And with a piece like this, I find there's a natural resonance in it. Yes, the chords and harmonies are changing, but it's all based on the same pitch set. It's all based on like one chord, I feel. So if you're playing it right, I think on top of the instrument, you should feel the resonance of this chord, this specific character, the crunchiness of that chord come through in the entire instrument all the time. It's kind of, it should feel like a wave of air, like throwing back at you, especially when it's big. That should like hit you in the face, that kind of resonance.
Okay.
And that goes into, you know, how do we play in a projecting manner versus playing loud only? That's another different story.
Yeah. No, yeah, but like that's a lot of good stuff to think about. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tim, are we good?
Great. Well, good. Thank you. Jake, you're going to have a great time at Eastman. I've just spent 3 weeks with a lot of the Eastman guys. And there's a lot of energy around that place. So I think you're going to fit in very well.
Well, good. Yeah, I'm very it's gonna be really fun. I'm really excited and nervous, but yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, man.
I think
Have a good
so.
time.
Congratulations on your accomplishments and enjoy the bird stance.
Thank you. Okay.
All right,
Thanks,
Jake.
bye.
See you later. Well done. Okay, so I think we're going to go to XY duo now. Hey.
Hi.
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 Nice to see you. I've not actually met you yet. We've not had a chance to have a meeting, so this is great. I believe, I might be wrong, Pius, but I believe XY duo are in Boston right now. Is that right?
Oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
in Boston.
So you have a lot in common. So you're going to get on really well. So I'll just cue up your video. If you want to just say a little bit about yourself and what you're playing, that would be great.
Oh okay. So, my name is Xingyue and her name is Xinyao, and we're
studying vocal for like
5
years
for undergrad and masters. And I just graduated, and she's still
I'm still master right now.
But so who's piano, who's marimba?
We both
You're both marimba.
like
percussion and her.
Okay.
Oh, you mean the
piece?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm just looking at. I see XY duo and then I see marimba and piano. So I don't know what I'm.
We're both marimba. We arranged this piece for marimba duo, and she's mostly playing the piano part and playing.
Okay, that makes sense now. That makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll just play it, and then Pius, if you want to give me a signal.
Yeah. Why did you make that face at the end? You're like,
The last note, the marimba is the bar is broke.
Yeah.
yeah. Did you break it?
No, it's
not
original.
but it's
Somebody else.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean that. So I mean, as a side note, that happens sometimes when you have to play on broken bars. Just don't show it. Sometimes I have played mini concert with broken bar marimbas, and the audience doesn't care who broke the bar. They only could tell the bar is broken. So don't hit it at the spot where it's broken.
Yeah.
In that case, like because it was the last note, I think if it was that broken, I might have played at the very edge of the bar. Was really thick, then you probably won't hear the crack sound.
Yeah.
Sacrifice a little bit, but yeah, it's the last note. It doesn't matter if it's just like. So, great job! A lot of good energy. I think. When was this recital?
Last summer.
Yeah, last summer.
Were you on tour in Qingdao?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a new hall, right? New school. I remember.
Right.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
built last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember someone emailed me about that one. Cool. So let's start with. I mean, again, great job. Of course, Nancy has many comments about this, I'm sure. My dear teacher.
Yeah.
Have you played this for Emmanuel yet? Or has he seen a recording?
No, not yet.
Does
But
he approve of playing this on Two Marimba?
I don't know how he will react.
You know, I bet he'll like it. Just ask him.
Okay, probably.
So maybe let's talk about the arrangement first. I think this is pretty easily adapted, and I think you're doing a great job. So, in the last two bars, were you rolling the dotted half notes or in the half note? Da dun 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 da bum 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 bum. I think you.
What?
钢琴是
Yeah.
keep defaulting wanting to go to Chinese with you and then realize this is gonna be live broadcast. So who's on the piano part?
Me. That's me here.
So at least for the second last note, I just rolled that octave because I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And then, so I think the major thing I would want to explore is the poco pulento, So I would go with more simplified notes, but more tremolos or rolls and marimba instead, because in the string version, it's thick string sound, a lot of sustain.
Yeah.
And the way this is written is for piano, which makes sense. But for marimbas, we can kind of do a tremolo, and we can probably get across a pretty thick sound. I mean, I don't know. Let me try something here. So I might go with something like, I mean, you have four hands, but seems to have that more of that. This.
Yeah, sure.
Have you tried it?
We kind of try something in between.
Yeah.
Because I just double some of
My
her
bass part.
Yeah, I just double some of the
Chord?
chord on
Yeah.
the middle range, and she plays the melody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would experiment with more of voicing on two marimbas is very tricky.
Yeah.
There's a way to make it all both resonant at the same time, and a lot of times arranging it so the voicing are not like one person plays the top, one person plays it. It's,
Yeah.
so that would be cool. I would let go of that bass line of the. That doesn't seem to work very well for marimba or have that effect. I might just go for a sustain there. Maybe experiment with something, write it down, send it to Emmanuel to see if he approves. That might be kind of cool.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And then another arrangement thing is at like 140, there are a few spots that we're going
Yeah.
instead of just you kind of do it. Yeah. I don't know the notes, but yeah.
Yeah, that's
with appropriate balance, I think we should be able to. Because it was sounding a little like a little too happy. Like,
yeah.
Just make it a little bit more intense. Just kind of like a little bit more like a tambourine stroke instead of like.
Yeah.
So that's kind of in terms of arrangement. That spot, or there was a couple done. At spots like, do you have the music in front of you? But at 66, for instance, when one of you, and then the others,
yeah.
It's okay. It seems like a waste of notes though, because you're just doubling one that's playing eighth, one that's playing 16th.
Yeah.
Which, if you had two different timbres, that would work well. But when you're the same, I'm not sure if that's necessary. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but I wonder if there's something a little bit more effective you can do.
Yeah. We definitely need to change
Go ahead.
that part. We're probably gonna change that part to something more maybe different rhythm for.
That might be to help the resonance a little bit. We could try it. Yeah, doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
What I was doing, just kind of like one person sustaining that, making it. I mean, the marimba one part is, of course, naturally a marimba part already. So make the piano part more marimbaistic might be.
Yeah.
Good.
Sure.
And since this is dual, I feel like this should be more of a dual character versus not so much like one person accompanying another. Which there are spots I see you trading off the solo parts. That's kind of nice. But if you did that more, maybe that might be nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would.
And then, so let's talk there. So 2 sections. The first section, I thought it was too nice.
The
all of that. That seems too mild to me. Can you tell what music this is inspired by? This is a quiz.
It's
Like what I mean, other than French music, what's Emmanuel's like biggest influence? And then jazz.
like dance music.
Yeah, what kind of dance? Specifically, what country, what style?
Tango.
Flamenco.
Tango? Not this. Close.
No.
I mean,
This one.
I'm gonna give it to you. It's flamenco.
Oh, flamenco.
A huge fan of flamenco music. He played in a flamenco band for many years.
Oh.
So it's a huge part of his composition and his music. So listen to some flamenco music, then you could get the character. It's strong. It's very passionate. It's very energetic.
Yeah.
It's heavy. It's usually not heavy. It's kind of like it's you got like that the Spaniard.
Yeah.
I suck at it, but I'm actually very bad at this concerto. But we need that rhythm, that drive. I think that's a major thing missing in your interpretation of this first piece. So that maybe take some flamenco dance lessons, or at least listen to more of it so you can get that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's in a touch too. You're just getting a little bit more like crunchy, like a little bit more pointed, articulate sound.
Yeah.
A little too nice for me, I think.
Okay.
And then, and partly is how you stylize the rhythm too. I mean, it shouldn't be all rubato, but it's more like da 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 instead of da 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 da.
Yeah.
Again, I go back to the tambourine thing. So and then bar 59. Seems kind of lonely to just go boom, boom, boom. Oh, one of you left.
Yeah, she went
I
to
know.
the iPad.
Or I'm just that scary.
Oh,
Yeah, bar 59. That piano part, I think you're just playing note, like octave, note, note, note. Maybe there's something else you could do there. What were you doing? I don't remember now.
I think she just wrote the notes in octave, and I just double the bass note, like the first note.
Yeah. Okay. You can do something like that. What am I doing? Something like that. Or now the others are necessary. That's just an idea. He might hate it, so ask him.
We'll try.
For like 63 in the piano part, which pitches did you pick?
60.
63.
I picked G, D, and B natural, and what is that? B flat.
Yeah.
Theoretically, instead of the D, an F would make sense, but on marimba, a fifth sounds good a lot of times, so it should probably be okay. So this next part is also something about the rhythm. I think you could do, like, it's starting from 72.
Yeah.
First, I like how the marimba part was played. It wasn't totally straight, which is exactly what he intended. It was supposed to be a rubato and kind of free, and if you want to improv, go ahead.
Yeah.
The couple times I've played this, I actually never learned the marimba part. I just kind of improvised based on what he wrote, and that's usually more comfortable, and he likes that more. But he wrote it down for people that may not be as comfortable with improvising, or give us a basis for kind of going off of a little bit. I think you did very well with not like playing like this has to be this rhythm.
Yeah.
But it's in the piano part that I thought could use a little something else. It was a little flat.
Yeah.
It was missing the dance. Think about, so if you're conducting this, how would you conduct it actually? If you're conducting,
I don't know, like the. Maybe.
Once more.
Yeah.
Your hand cut out from the camera.
Like the is that 5, 4?
If you were conducting it in 4.
Kind of like
I would probably go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, do, dum. So what I was missing is the first beat, boom, boom, and then this kind of like swings to the side. The third one, very importantly, it's short, long, long, short, long, and this fourth beat leads towards the down. So there's that momentum I was missing. The bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-da-dum. If I was very exaggerating a stylized version of this, it would be don't play it like that, but if you did like 2% of that, that would give you the right feel and the groove to go on. And another thing is this section goes on for pretty long, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, it builds to, where is this? Eventually, it builds to a bigger point at 134, right? So one thing I would do is try to, it's not written, but you can kind of think of the momentum gradually building forward, and then over like 16 bars,
Yeah.
gained a little bit tempo, a little bit speed. Like instead of 128, you might be like 130 or 60 bars. So it keeps pushing, helps the structure in the long direction a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, the marimba part has all the melody, the showcase notes, but the groove part is really what keeps this thing moving and gives it the flavor. But maybe, I bet you already talked about it, but I would appreciate switching the melody like once here, just so not the same person is playing the entire time.
Yeah, we tried that, but it's just the melodies. We couldn't figure out the right melodies.
Because you were using Pius Cheung mallet because they work for everything.
Oh, we have your mallet.
I'll get Eric mallets, but I'm just from an audience standpoint, I thought it would be nice to like kind of switch it up a little bit, since it's a duo, not marimba plus accompaniment. But if the mallets thing doesn't work, that's of course another issue. And then we go back to the big fancy that just go until the passionate moment. Yeah, that mezzo forte at 157 never really made sense to me. I've always wanted that to be like fortissimo. That 150. But understanding he's French, he's more reserved, so he doesn't want to go all the way out. So that understandable too. And then another thing is Emmanuel is a master chef, and his palate is so good. So that, again, going back to food, that relates to how you interpret his music too. A lot of it is in subtle flavors. I mean, his music is very big and small, but then there's also a lot of flavors in it that we can't just blow through. French cuisine, they have like 100 different ingredients for one simple dish, so we need to think about how to get that flavor across. It's usually not big and oily; it's usually very delicate.
Yeah.
Although he does say all the time his music is also just like big and small. There's no middle. Not necessarily. I don't know. So that's something, again, you can think about. But very importantly, I think first step is think about the flamenco.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
Question.
How's Nancy doing?
Nancy's good.
Good, all right. I miss Lego seafood. The crab cakes are the best. I'm getting hungry now. Hey, Tim.
Hey, well done, guys. I was thinking that some of that reminds me of Camden as well. I don't know if you know that one with like 2 players on one marimba with the
Oh,
castanets.
yeah. Of course.
Quite similar motifs, you know.
I mean, you need that spiciness in Emmanuel's music.
Yeah.
That kind of like that
Sure.
gentleman, and he's so cool. He's like definition of what it means to be like a cool, tall French guy.
Definitely. All right, so we're going to move on to our last artist. Well done, XY Duo. Good job.
Say hi to Nancy.
So Burke can't make it. He's had a family emergency, and Layla has low signal, so I don't know if she's going to be able to talk. Layla, are you there? Hey.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear. How you doing?
Okay. I'm doing good. How are y'all?
I'm all right. So I'm just going to cue your video up. If you want to just talk a little bit about yourself and what you're going to be playing, that'd be great. Give me a bit of time.
Hi. So I'm Layla. I'm currently a music ed major at the University of Texas at Arlington. I submitted Verano Porteño by Pius Cheung.
Piazzolla wrote it. I just arranged it.
But yeah, Piazzolla. And then I played it for my junior recital, but I picked it back up for WPG because I want to play it better.
Me too.
But
great. Nice to meet you, Layla.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, so this one's about, as I'm sure you're aware, about 7 minutes. Do you want to hear the whole thing, or we have time if you want?
Probably just the first part and then the middle section.
Oh,
well, actually, no. That the ending, I kind of want to see her struggle a little bit. Ending part. Sorry,
right,
I didn't like presume you were struggling because I struggle with it.
I struggled. It's hard. It's really hard.
So, yeah, I'll play it and then you just tell me what to do when to do it. That sounds good to me.
Great job.
Thank
So,
you.
how long ago did you say this recording was made?
Last week.
Oh, cool. So, have you heard the original recording, like with Piazzolla?
Yes.
What do you think?
I think I expected it to be like a lot more drawn out in certain parts, but when I listened to it, it was actually the opposite. It was a lot more energetic than I expected.
Mm-hmm. So I think one thing. Well, I think the first tip I had for you is to again think about the rhythm. In tango, this rhythm is always there. One, doo-dum, pow, like 1, 2, what's it? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So the fourth beat always leads to the downbeat. Doo-dum, pow. It is that extra sing that's always there, but doo, pow, doo-dum. So I think that's kind of missing a little bit in your interpretation. Even when the left hand is straight up quarter notes, dum, bum, 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 that rhythm is always in the back. Which is what really ties this entire piece or tango together is the rhythm. So starting with, maybe I just give you a tutorial as we go along. Move the chair. So in the beginning, you're kind of like testing waters to see if, okay, what am I doing here? Just going. Then around here, you start to get a little bit more comfortable with the groove. Around here, you start to really sink into the go, 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 and the is deeply there already. And this drives this entire fast section. Can you hear me okay with my talking and speaking?
Yes.
Okay. So it's that drive, it drives the entire section, and then eventually we get and these are kind of tricky. I don't know how to explain these glissandos. They shouldn't sound like. It's just kind of like when the Bandonian goes like just kind of hit it and then let it go. And this, I find it's been tricky teaching this the glissando to sound right. So you just kind of like throw it. So. I think you were doing a good job picking these fast notes up, but just kind of keep it low and fast stroke speed. Heavy, 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 and then suddenly become a lot more gentle there, and then. Does it make sense? And this right hand line just kind of hovers above that. And then. Back to the groove again. So we have the solid groove, and then we kind of go into a little bit like swirly development area, and then we're back to the groove again. Does this make sense so far? And then there's some smoky, the cigar smoke room. have some kind of that smokiness happening. There's a cloud here for a second, and then the groove comes back in a very soft, mild, but kind of like it invites you into this world, kind of like that, instead of like hitting in your face. But the groove, that boom, 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 is always there. This, I like to go. Sometimes I mute it. It probably is not projecting through the computer, but in person, this is a small glissando effect. Do you hear it? Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, missed notes. And this right here is possibly a duet or a solo even. And you're just kind of lamenting that there's the dance still there, but then there's one person singing. That's kind of fun. And then maybe you have strings joining a little bit. Here you start to get big. Don't keep the rhythm again. Oh, sorry, it's a marimba one. And then the entire group comes in here. This is like violin plus bandoneon plus whatever else you have. But it's more like a group effort, group singing. First is the first part, which is more solo singing. So this left hand gets leading again to the downbeat again. Maybe not quite as like pushy, no. Maybe not quite as big or quite as energetic, quite as like in your face as the first section. But this is again the groove leads it all. And then when it comes again with the middle swirly notes, maybe a little bit faster. That I arranged like years after this, which I like more now, which kind of keeps the section going. So when I play this solo nana, I don't suddenly drop out again. I keep it going. Something like that. So, but check out the duo version if you want to adapt some of that. But you can just kind of chill back, and then we hit this last section again, which is the same as the first. Okay. And then we go into this entire like kind of senseless licks. That part you just have to go fast. And keep it. As far as writing goes, this part is not the most interesting. This part is really the muscle flexing part. Back when I had when I was young and wanted to show off some of these chops, I just wrote that part so I had to check out how fast I can play. And then years later, when we did this as a duo with me and Erico, this was actually an accompaniment part. The interesting stuff is in the melody. So if I were to write a solo version again, I might add some more melodic materials there. But in this, when you're just playing the solo, like just push. Otherwise, it's not interesting enough to kind of like stay still. So you have to kind of like cover it with some makeup and just play it faster. And then at the end we go to this. This is is not even Verano Porteno. This is Adios Nonino. That's another piece that I was like, oh, I throw that on there. That seems good to play. It doesn't make any sense at all, but it's kind of like a stir frying, like a couple Piazzolla famous tunes into one. But at the time I was writing this, I was just gonna, this is probably gonna be the only Piazzolla I arrange, and I would just play that for tours, for encores a lot, and I did. So, and then it just pushes till the end. At the end, you just kind of have to go fast. There's a trick. You can just kind of like pinch with your fingers a little bit, which is a lot faster than the wrist. And then at some point you go to a semi-molar technique. So you kind of like spread the job around, so it's arm press, arm press. Does it make sense? So it's not like, that's kind of harder. All right. So and then the last note. The entire band goes, boom, just throw your stuff down. Boom. It's not a careful glissando. I wouldn't go like, boom. Actually, Piazzolla Cappella. On marimba, I find it's cooler to just go like throw and then done. So that's a short tutorial of how I would play this. But again, Piazzolla version is really cool. So I think his recording has got all the answers you need to play this. Do you have any questions about everything I just said? I kind of threw a lot at you.
No. All of it was really insightful too. Definitely like I'm gonna really think about like the tango rhythm. I actually never really thought about that. I don't know why, but I guess I was wondering like how did you begin to like arrange or compose like these parts? Playing like your music specifically feels really different from like other composers. I was wondering, maybe do you like write? Do you like improvise on the marimba or like on the piano, or how do you like approach your writing when you start?
I mean, for this one in particular, since it's an arrangement and there's a tune, I just played the tune. I just literally just went to the instrument and I just started playing, and then I wrote it down, and that was about it. But then, yeah, for this one in particular, I just sat down and played, and then that sounds good, and then played. And there's some more chiseling after I wrote it down and everything. And then after 10 performances of it, I'm like, all right, that section wasn't necessary. Maybe I want to add a little bit more here and there. But then, I mean, sidetracking. And when it comes to composition, I think I forgot who I was talking a little bit earlier about a combination of writing things down on paper, or actually I write directly on computer, away from the instrument, versus playing at the instrument and just kind of like, oh, this might be a good gem or a good idea to go off with for a little bit. It's a combination of both. But in the case of Piazzolla or arrangement, you just kind of, the music's already written, so you just have to pick the right notes to put in it. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, Tim, I know we still have a little time, but
yeah, no, that's great. So, Bert didn't turn up tonight because he had a few issues, but I know I kind of cut Jack a little short, so I think he might have a couple of questions for you. I'll bring everyone on anyway, just
yeah,
if they have some questions. Yeah, go for it, Jack.
Yeah, I just wondered about your thoughts on like mallets, because I'm thinking I'm going to get a set of your mallets just because everyone's recommended them, because I mean I haven't really put much time and effort into selecting like the right kinds of mallets or anything like that, but obviously yours are highly recommended, and I just wondered what your thoughts were in terms of like rattan handles versus birch handles. Like,
sure.
Which one do you think was better for certain things?
I don't play Stevens, Musser, but Tim probably has a lot of thoughts about it. But In general, that's what I hear is the Mustard Stevens people prefer birch, the Crosswear people prefer rattan, but I've seen opposite on both sides and people functioning just as well. So it really depends on the player and your hands. But in general, I like sticks that make me work the least. Like I just don't want to do anything. I just want to let the stick does its thing, which tends to be the trend for the past 10, 20 years, which is mallets getting heavier. I think for me, it all started with keikoabe. Keikoabe started it all with like the heavier mallets than the older generation, like the muster people, which is tends to be going back to the smaller instruments, ragtime, like xylophony. The instruments got bigger, so eventually our mallets got the repertoire got bigger, the demands got bigger. So in general, mallets now are heavier. So which leads to us playing in a certain way of just kind of like letting the weight do its thing, just kind of dropping. And because we're playing in bigger concert halls too, that I think, so that tends to be the trend, the general agreed philosophy on sticks, just heavier sticks, and usually I prefer to use slightly harder mallets than a lot I've seen my colleagues do, just because, but you can, if you have heard me play, my sound is usually not that edgy, but I use slightly harder mallets because I can control with touch to make the mallet sound softer. I can't make a soft mallet sound harder with touch. I just hit it harder. So with a slightly harder mallet, I have more control of tone color. A variety of tone color. But with softer mallets, it's easier to get a big round sound because there's cushion, there's places to hide. I think you can just hit it and it still kind of sound round and nice. But with harder mallets, I have to cushion it. I can still sound round and nice, but without changing mallets, I can get that sound too.
Okay.
That makes sense. Tim agrees. Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah. No, I think there's always been this like birch for Stevens, rattan for Cross, but ultimately, I agree with you. I think it's up to the player. For me, I think I'm kind of on the same page as you, Pius. That I prefer a heavier mallet. I go for the rattan just because it gives a little bit more flexibility, like to the actual like weight at the front. So I prefer that myself. But Jack, we already talked about this a little bit last session, but I think, like I said last session, if you can try and get to some sort of like conference or something where you can have an array and just get a feel for what makes you feel comfortable, that's ultimately the best. Because anyone that says this is the best mallet is just lying, because there is no best mallet. Like, it's purely based on, well, apart from Pius, obviously,
of course,
but but seriously, like it's purely based on the person's approach musically and technically, and how they feel emotionally with the connection with the sticks as well. So it's very individual. So and the only way you're going to get that is through experience.
I suppose.
So, an interesting thing I noticed last year when I took my students to study with Keiko Abe, you think Keiko Abe only uses Keiko Abe mallets, and by most of the time she does in concerts. At the same time, in her house, there were like trunks and trunks load of other mallets that she said, I was in like South America and I thought this mallet would be good. So there was like so many mallets that she collected. And so just that's of what you like. Yeah.
And I guess as I get older, I probably like yourself, Pius, I've got like loads of mallets and different brands and stuff. And sometimes it depends what mood I'm in,
Kinda, yeah.
So it just, it depends. Style, pull, mood.
Is a very big thing, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been used to playing with birch mallets most kind of recently.
They make my line in birch too.
Yeah, I've been looking at them. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of grown used to using the birch ones, and obviously they're a bit more stiff, and you can kind of control them a bit more than rattan ones, especially with Stevens grip. But
I think with the mustard Steven, I see people tend to use shorter mallets.
Yeah.
Well,
and
I've seen that.
Like,
Do you know
I use it a lot.
Conrado? I forgot his last name. Moya?
Moya.
Yeah. He like shaves off his inside mallet or something, so it balances out so that they're the same length out of his hands, but his inside mallet is significantly shorter. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I will
That's a big thing about it.
try some different mallets when I can.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'd
like
love
we
to come
said.
to PASIC. I want to go to PASIC in the next few years.
Yeah, I think that would be good for you, just if nothing else, just to see what's out there, not only in terms of the music and musicians, but also like equipment and stuff as well.
Yeah,
That's where it's
definitely.
at. So cool.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Have you done much in the UK, Pius?
Last time I was in the UK, I slept in his house.
Is that Yorkshire puddings?
Yeah,
Oh.
Yorkshire pudding is awesome. Yeah.
Beautiful.
You guys drink a lot of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really eat a lot. You just drink a lot. I know.
It's a liquid diet. That's what they call it.
No, let's do stuff. We're gonna come back. I want more Yorkshire pudding. I want that full English breakfast. I am always just talking about food.
Did I subject you to mint sauce last time as well?
No.
Oh,
I'd love to try it. Yeah.
next time. Next time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if no one else, I don't think anyone else is like here on the stream. So Pius, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to end the stream for everyone watching. If you are intending to join us again next week, we have who have we got? Let's have a little look at my crib sheet. We've got
I know who you have.
Fabian Ziegler on the 5th of June. So that's on Wednesday. And then on Saturday, of course, we have an amazing artist, way better than Pius. We have Erica Dimer with us. So she's